For you today, I compiled 8 anime with trans women characters involved. I made sure to include their personality traits to see who you best connect with, as well a little bit about the stories that they follow. A little bit of a disclaimer here is I haven't seen all of these animes all the way through. However, I did my best to include the best representation I could possibly find. Number 8, our first entry, is Lily from Zombieland Saga. Lily is openly trans and was an actress when she was alive. Now, given the title, you may have gathered she's a zombie, but she literally died from a heart attack because of dysphoria and stress. Kind of like how you and I do on a daily, but this bitch actually literally did it. Lily is blunt, and I mean super blunt, but that's not because she's rude, it's just because she hasn't developed a social compass. That being said, she's emotionally fragile, playful, and ultimately professional because of her past experience in a professional industry. Zombieland Saga is ultimately a heartwarming and comedic story about Lily as well as other women that have died and become idols. If you're looking for some laughs or some tears, this is a great anime for you. However, the next one is actually a shonen. This one may come to a surprise as you, as this one is a classic anime. It's called Hunter x Hunter, and Alluka the sister is actually trans. You may know about the 2011 anime adaptation, however, there was actually one in 1999 as well, showcasing how far ahead of its time it was with representation. Not only that, Alluka is a stellar portrayal of a transgender character. Alluka is the loving sister to the protagonist. She is loving and caring, like I said, but she's also optimistic despite being through so many hard times. Ultimately, and unfortunately, she doesn't get as much screen time as one would hope, but she's still an incredible level of representation, and I do recommend watching this anime if you're into shonen. However, this next character is in the forefront of the storytelling. Her name is Ryuji Ayukawa, and she's from Blue Period. Ryuji comes from a troubled home where ultimately her mother and father don't support her and actively shun her. However, her grandmother is a living W and does support her. She ultimately rejects gender conformity, sometimes wearing all female clothes or wearing a male shirt and a female skirt. As far as personality, she can be seen as assertive and confident despite having a lot of underlying and unseen anxiety. However, she does let her guard down and acts a little bit cutesy sometimes. Ultimately, this character is well-rounded and is actually gender fluid. She has a lot of intricacies that make her a unique and ultimately deep character. That said, if you're a bad gender fluid bitch like me and ultimately denounce gender conformity, this is a great character to watch. Blue Period is an emotionally charged, award-winning anime. It is well worth your time, and again, she does take the center stage with the protagonists here. However, if you're more assertive with your gender expression and identify as only female, then number 5's got you. I'm talking about Ruka Urushibara. I'm hoping I'm saying that right again, from Steins Gate. She was assigned male at birth naturally, however identifies and presents as female. Throughout the story, you'll see her battle and constantly struggle with her gender dysphoria. She is extremely sensitive and emotional, especially when it comes to her love interest. This story has a lot of powerful moments stemming from this character and her struggles. And as far as good representation goes, her story is a very good example of that. Number 4 is no one anyone expects, but she is a boss bitch, so I'm including her. She's from an anime called Kagastar of an Insect Cage, and her name is Mario. It is no secret that Mario has some dramatized features. However, that's not to say she's bad representation, and I have a good reason to include her. She's from an apocalyptic setting and does not have access to hormone treatment or any type of surgery. It's important to note that appearances are largely variable, and not every anime character should look like a passable female, and the fact that she doesn't is actually a benefit. Because yes, she does get ridiculed, and yes, she's in a post-apocalypse, so there's nothing she can really do about it, but she continues to live her boss bitch life by being a boss bitch and embracing everything that she is. When you watch an anime, it's the protagonists that set a moral code, and the protagonists look to her with great respect and value. The fact that she's ridiculed by a few drunken douchebags and not the protagonists, as well as some other characters, shows that ultimately the world is not always a forgiving place, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice who you are. It also reflects the real world and how trans women are treated to date. But again, it's the protagonists that set the moral code. So who is Mario? She shows great compassion and empathy for those around her. She clearly cares about helping people, and ultimately, she's a mothering figure. She's also the epitome of fuck around and find out, because if you cross her the wrong way, she will knock you out. Unfortunately, and admittedly, although this slay boss bitch is amazing, the anime is kind of lukewarm. However, if you like post-apocalyptic action settings with giant bugs, then maybe it'll have something for you. Now, this next one is from an anime that I hold dear to my heart, and I'm gonna say the name, you might just wiggle in your damn seat if you've seen it. It's called Kakegurui. It's not an unpopular anime, but it doesn't receive the attention I think it deserves. Let's talk about Riri Batsubami. I believe I said that correctly. She is more gender fluid than anything, but oh my god, she is cool. Going by the pronouns she, her, they, them, he, him, depending on her current preference and mood, she clearly is gender fluid. As well, you do get to see them full-on boy mode and full-on girl mode. She tends to be very serious and quiet, but unlike her family, I use quotations watching anime to know why, she's compassionate and caring. The fact that she sticks out as a positive character from a group that she comes from is honestly breathtaking. It's very unusual to see in Western media. But of course, this isn't Western media. This is an anime about gambling, high stakes, rewards and losses, as well as tension. Just so much tension. If you want to see a clash of the titans, but the titans are just geniuses and billionaires, then this is an anime for you. And if you think being a billionaire is a major thing to them, it's not. It's about the respect, and God, it's just so good. The protagonist, by the way, defies all these expectations. She's in it for the thrill, and again, I'm not gonna gush, baby. Just watch it, okay? Just do it. Number 2 is Hana from Tokyo Godfathers. Probably the most ahead of its time representation of an anime character that is trans yet. Tokyo Godfathers was made in 2003, and the trans character does take the front and center as the protagonist. Even to this day, the world is not a friendly place towards people in our community. Back then, it was even worse, causing her to go homeless. Trying just to make ends meet, homelessness, discrimination, and ultimately misgendering are all topics included here. She is a genuine and loving person capable of great compassion, even taking homeless youth under her wing as their mother figure. Within the movie, you'll see her love of theater showcased as she's dolled up on stage. She'll even go out of her way to try and make people happy at the cost of her own happiness or comfort. Hana is not only one of the best representations of a trans character in anime, but in media as a whole. Her story is ultimately heartwarming but tragic as she navigates through a cold and unforgiving world. All of that said, this movie does have a lot of comedic values, just the substance, the foundation is built on tragedy. In Tokyo Godfathers, you'll follow 3 homeless individuals that find a baby in a trash can and ultimately set out to bring that baby back to its mother. Finally, we have a more modern story where the protagonist is in fact transgender and the story revolves around that aspect of her life. Of course, I'm talking about Nitori Lily from Wandering Sun. This is a coming of age story that I'm sure a lot of individuals in the community will heavily resonate with. The looming reality of gender dysphoria, puberty, deepening of voice, and all that stuff take the center stage as a conflict here. Like I said, her entire character arc surrounds gender identity. She's quiet, docile in her younger years, and ultimately wants to be a female more than anything. She fears puberty for the masculine traits that might come her way. Although this is a coming of age story, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you can't watch it to date, because there's a lot to take away about the character arc here. And you'll notice, unlike all of my other entries, I'm not going to give you the story after the character synopsis, because the character synopsis is the story. There may be some of you that look at some of these characters and in your opinion, the characters are not proper representation, but that does not mean they should be taken away from people that do find solace in these characters. The goal of this video, and ultimately the shows that you'll watch potentially down the road, are to show that you're not alone in your struggles and the way that you uniquely feel. Just remember that however you decide to identify is ultimately valid. Don't let people in our community gatekeep you or people outside of our community gatekeep you. The way you feel is fine and it's okay and it's not your fault. I truly hope one of these animes help you out, and if not, you're always a Google search away from finding even more. However, I did try hard to find really good representation. I wish you the best and thanks for watching. Bye.